welcome back to the Business Simple podcast. Fun episode today, one I'm really looking forward to. I have Blair Chappell from Williams Corporation here with me. You guys have heard a little bit about Williams Corporation when I did the episode with Matt a few weeks back. Really awesome business we've had the pleasure of working with for a number of years now. Blair and Matt have achieved some exceptional things. They both handle different responsibilities within the business. I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about your story because I thought about in advance to this. I actually haven't heard it. I've heard little
There's not too much to it, to be honest.
Yeah, there's some little snippets. I heard about working at Macca's at some point, and Matt mentioned when you guys first started being in business together and how that was like. But I'm interested as to how that will be. And then also Blair is a real practitioner, and I think that a lot of the way that we view things is similar, and it's been cool seeing, especially with developments like Manchester Square, the work and things like that that's going into that. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about it. So thank you for taking the time to come and sit down.
No problem at all. Thanks for picking me up.
No worries.
We're laughing because I was running down Barbados Street trying to jump in James's car before the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to just get yourself nice and flustered before a podcast episode. Just it helps with the focus.
I'll put the phone on silent.
Good call.
Just
Good
leave
call.
this in here. It's good content. People want it real.
People want it real. So, let's start, if it's okay. This is typically how we tend to, from the start. So you went to school here in Christchurch.
Yeah, grew up in Christchurch, went to school here, finished school and did a degree at Polytech in computing, of all things. And then worked at McDonald's during that. Didn't really like my degree that much, didn't really like working at McDonald's that much, and my father wouldn't let me leave McDonald's until I got another job. And earthquakes had recently happened, so I was like, who the hell do I know that can give me a job, or what can I do to sort of change what I was doing? And I wouldn't say I didn't like working at McDonald's, but it's only so you can sort of do as a part-time job before you want to just change things up.
Yeah.
And I thought, Matthew's moved back to town. Called Matthew and said, hey, can I do some labouring for you over summer break? And that was sort of the start of it, as far as being interested if I hadn't have made that phone call where I'd be today. And it was literally just summer of labouring on building sites, and then we started doing temporary fencing when the law changed. And then also that was similar time when Matthew went in to work in the family business at Horncastle Homes. And that was sort of when I started taking over running the temporary fencing side of the business, and then after a few years sort of bought into that side of things. And like I said, there's not much of a story. I literally did that, then we decided to build a spec home, then we decided to try to start every business under the sun, whether it be solar panels, a waste company, civil contracting, and then the market sort of went from lots of small businesses making a little bit of money to lots of small businesses losing a little bit of money, and then it came back to what do we actually like, what do we enjoy, what do we think we want to do, and that was sort of the reshape of let's shut down all these distractions and just go into sort of speculative property development. But it was just 1 year we built, say, 4 homes, then it was 8, then 12, then 30, then 60. And then just, as you see blink, and it's been, 10, 12 odd years. So we were talking about on the way here, where it was like, oh, how long ago did we go to Highlands together? It's like 5 years, 4 years. It's,
Goes pretty quick, eh?
Not the most exciting story, but it's more just what a lot of people do is, it's the whole, try a whole lot of different things, find the one that you actually like, and then just do nothing else about that for long enough, and then you put your head up one day and, learn some stuff, learn lots.
Nice. And so then, and because that's evolved a little bit, and I've got a couple of things I do want to touch on just in some of the periods of your story. You guys now have a number of, say, JV partners and things like that you're working with. Is that just treating that whole thing differently? Is that what's reopened your eyes to that, or how do you view that?
I suppose it's knowing what you're good at and what your place in society is. And I've always said it's, if you try to do something part-time and you're competing against someone that is all in full-time on that business or industry, it's slightly naive to think that you're ever going to have a chance of being able to compete at that level with them. So it's like kind of the own with Williams. Greg had sort of told us to do this co-ownership thing for quite a while, and we sort of said, no, too busy, got too much on, we know our place in society. And I think it might have been the 3rd or 4th time that Greg was talking to Matthew about it. Matthew's like, well, why don't you just do it and then do it with us? But sort of, you're the main person that does it. And then, that was that one. And then we're like, having JV partners is awesome because you're like, this person's invested, capable, competent, like driven, And then it's sort of one of those things where it's horizontal integration as far as from the outside, but it's also vertical integration from the inside, where if you removed one of those JVs from the overall business, it doesn't just break everything, but then having it in the business actually does help the entire process of what we do.
Yeah, so like in Owen with Williams, they might be able to buy a house off you that they couldn't buy otherwise. So Williams Corporation benefits, but then Owen with Williams benefits because they do the deal, or someone that can't buy a townhouse but needs a portable home put on a section they've got can use Air Home. And
it worked quite well at Owen with Williams. Is a cool thing where when KO had that home ownership scheme, and when they ran out of budget and closed it, we're like, man, we were selling so many homes, it was helping a lot of people. And we're like, why don't we just find a way to do a capitalist version of that effectively? Because, it's a lot of people just don't have that extra bit of money to get into a house. So, yeah.
Sure. And so this interests me a lot because obviously you go from Macca's and start labouring with Matt, right? You are now one of the most capable people, and I've worked with a bunch of property clients, but seeing you say on-site at Manchester Square, seeing your obsession
with flat.
Seeing your obsession with building and your knowledge around how to build homes, you would hang with the best of them, right? But you obviously didn't study that. What was learning that all like over the years?
Very good question. I suppose I think you need to have a certain kind of thought process, and whether or not that's learnt or that's sort of instilled in you. But it kind of is just common sense and logic of just going, what's next on the job? What's the plan say? Why does it say that? Who designed it? Having a relationship with the trades where you can actually ask the person. That's actually the key thing. Get the person on site, have a relationship where they've done it for 30 odd years. How would you do this? Do you think this is the best way to do it? And either it matches the plans or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, okay, let's expand on this. And then you go into battle and have counsel and architects and engineers. But I think there's not enough credit given to the people that have actually done the work over their career on site physically, as opposed to the people that have done it in principle on a computer. And it's an interesting industry where I don't know why the people that actually have done the work for their career aren't more involved in the actual design process.
Yeah, that makes a heap of sense.
You get someone, and no discredit to them at all, that's a few years out of university, or even but after that, going to site to tell, say, the drain lad that's done it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, if he's put the pipe in the ground properly, and that person's never put a pipe in the ground themselves. Bizarre, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were talking about this on the way here, where there was some, it was a weird thing posted publicly about the way that homes are being built, and Williams, as well as a number of other developers, were dragged into it. Named. This person has no backing behind what they're saying or anything like that, but they were named as like one of these people who's doing things wrong, right? But if that comes from someone who's never built a house, how valid is what they're saying,
Yeah, and that kind of relates to what I was saying before about why we get the people who actually build them involved in the process.
Yeah.
It's just, I was talking, without going on too much of a tangent, so I have a dinner with a good friend who's in the dental industry, and he's renovating his dental practice to add in more rooms to conduct surgeries or whatever they're called. And he literally walked into the room and just looked around. He's like, this room looks too small to comply and be a dental room. Builders measure it. Sure enough, it's too small to comply. And then he's like, I think I got charged by the architect to make the room bigger and comply. But if someone pays me to do their teeth and I don't do a job properly, I'd lose my license and or kill them. But now I'm paying the professional to fix their mistake that I picked up and I'm not in the industry. And he's like, I just don't get it. I'm like, yep, that is the industry.
Yeah, it's how
Stuff. It's there's so many different moving parts and nothing actually connects the parts together. There's the urban designer wanting the window bigger. Someone else wants the window smaller for, say, heat loss or whatever it may be. And then someone else wants it moved over for fire compliance. And none of it talks to each other.
Yeah. And then you were just stuck in the middle just trying to build the houses.
Yeah. The one profession actually needed in the industry, as far as a consultant goes per se, is actually someone that is the value engineering person that knows enough to be dangerous and knows how each consultant or professional, so to speak, crosses over with one another. And it's the one profession that doesn't exist in it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get someone that's not qualified to be respected by the engineer that is qualified, but then that qualified person doesn't understand the bigger picture of how that might tie into everything else.
Yeah, and they've been spending time getting qualified rather than practically involved
look
in
at
it.
all those examples of the Housing New Zealand jobs where they've spent, I don't know, millions or tens of millions, and they haven't started building.
Yeah,
Like, you might have had a geotech. Outside of that, everything was just computers and meetings and writing about what trees to plant, and you have to do lizard surveys in parts of New Zealand. I'm not joking. You have to literally do lizard and bat surveys.
there aren't a lot of lizards and bats here.
You don't know that yet.
You don't.
We don't have to survey them here. Hopefully it stays that way. Trust me, any site I buy, there'll be no lizards. I'll rehome them safely.
So obviously you and I mean you brushed over this, but I think this is an important part. You mentioned doing a spec home and then doing 4 and then doing 8 and then doing 30. Just this doubling and all these homes. Throughout this period that you guys were growing, and we were lucky enough to be working with you through a huge chunk of this and getting to see what was happening. One thing that I noticed about what Williams Corporation was doing differently is you were buying sites, you were getting them under contract, you were selling them, and you were building them quickly, settling them and moving on to the next thing. And you were doing that at a rate that I don't think a lot of other people could keep up with. You were seeing, you and someone else settle a site at the same time and they're still building it today, or that, and your house has been built for 2 years. What was that like in terms of steering a ship through a period like that?
Probably a degree of naivety where you don't know how broken the industry is at times. So you just sort of take it as if it's not broken. I know that sounds strange, but you just go to site. How long should this take? Or how long will this take? Okay, who's next? And just, you've got active involvement where it's, we need a box of nails. You drive to place makes yourself, get a box of nails so the builder can stay on site. And then one of the main things is we always try to use the same trades.
Yeah.
Where it's like, they end up knowing each other on site, and then they sort of just know that meta knowledge, which is things that you don't realise are there, and you can't easily write it down or figure out what it is, but it just flows a lot better. Like when we did Hagley by the netball courts, we had insulation installers at like 11:30 p.m. at night on a Friday with head torches on, and then the police showed up with police dogs because someone thought the site was getting burgled.
Yeah, right.
And I always go, I don't know what I did or we did to be able to get someone to come to site at 11:30 at night with head torches on to put insulation in on like a Friday or whatever day it was. And I think it's more, people do like getting the wins. Like once people, they might complain about the build program or say, hey, it's too tight, etc., but then once you actually get that outcome, they get that sense of satisfaction and pride. And I think it's more just ensuring that you do get the outcome so they get that sense of pride and satisfaction, as opposed to just being one of those people that just push, still gets delayed, and then everyone just gets just annoyed, really.
Yeah. There's also probably the fact that you guys pay them fairly, pay them on time, treat them with respect. There'll be a lot of other cases where they wouldn't feel like a part of the team.
That should just be a given. And the market was booming the last few years. It was harder to even go to site enough, and I think everyone in the industry was similar with just the wheels falling off a bit. But I've always said you need to realize we need them just as much as they need us. Like we're in an industry where there won't be enough people coming through. A lot of people that have been in the industry a long time retiring, and they work really hard every day with their bodies to build a house. And it's actually really hard to get a good team of trades. It's not having just a good builder or just a good sparker, just a good painter. Every single thing has to be done right to get the outcome. You can't do everything right and then the paint is bad. Or you can't do everything right but the tiling job's bad. There's just so many moving parts and every single person has to contribute. So once you get that team, I think it'd be foolish to then just go, that person's cheap, we'll swap that person out, etc. It's literally just common sense.
Yeah.
These people did a good job. Why would I not use them again?
Yeah, and you make the money that you would save with another supplier by delivering the job faster or not having issues with quality later or things like that. It balances out.
Yeah, I think the way I looked at that was just, even if, say, their first job I thought they might have been too expensive, because they're multi-units, sort of very similar floor plans, after they've done 1 or 2 projects, they get that efficiency. So then they probably go, I can do this faster. So then you don't actually get the price increases, say, after year 1. And then over that average period of, say, 5 years, then they're actually really good price. Yeah. So it's sort of just the whole The main thing is just, I'm not trying to swear on your podcast or not, but when you go into the side office, I've got a illuminated LED sign. As soon as you walk in, it says, can't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Which I don't say something like that anyway. I should know, look at it every day.
Yeah.
And as everyone that comes on site or we award the job to, I'm like, there's 3 terms and conditions on our contract, because we don't have a contract, I was writing on theirs. 1, can't fuck it up. 2, no variations. But then 3, both parties have to act in good faith to get a mutual beneficial outcome.
Right.
Like that is how I think building should be done.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and don't get me wrong, people will be like, oh, that's silly, you need this 3905, whatever it is, commercial contract, etc. But was it the net benefit of putting that goodwill in is always greater long term than the odd time someone takes advantage of it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And it's the same with, like, you know, if you can run a business in a way where handshake deals and things like that work, sure, 1 out of 30 times you're going to get taken advantage of. The other 29 arrangements you have, the people appreciate your trust so much.
Yeah.
You gain way more than you lose in that 1 out of 30.
Yeah.
And the best bit is the person who takes advantage of it, you just don't work with them again.
Yeah.
You only do it once, and then you're like, oh, well, that's us then.
Yep.
And it's not like a, you know, and I mean, we've got some people that we both know that have, I mean, I've got some things that come to mind straight away that have leaned on your guys' approach towards that sort of stuff and taken advantage of a little bit. But it's fine, because you just don't, and then they just vanish and they disappear off into the abyss, and you just move on and you find a good person, and it's all good.
And I know, like, you still like have an email trail and a quote and whatnot, but it's just, it's being able to fail forward, not hold on to those people.
Yeah.
And I think for some reason, like, don't worry, you still keep a record in your head.
Yeah.
But you don't let it absorb you and distract you from actually what you're wanting to do and what you're good at.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay. And so take me through then, I think that gives a pretty good summary of the sort of that up until the kind of really busy market or even some of that period. What's things look like for you? I mean, this Manchester Square project is a monster. I'm a Blair, funnily enough, has the what would you call it? Maybe the prize. You're the only person from Williams Corporation to ever sell me a house, which you aren't actually in the sales team. So I feel like there's.
Was it 2 months ago? September, October.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm going to prove the sales team I can actually do their job as well. And went on a wee sales mission for that month and managed to be number 1 salesperson that month. And I was like, do I laugh or cry? I still don't know the answer. I think crying's the right one. But yes, James is really fortunate to have you as a client, customer. I'm not sure what one you meant to.
Either or.
Essentially, I'm not the best salesperson. I am, but then as far as terminology, all the other stuff, but I just like to always really care about the people I'd sell houses to, and I'd always not do wrong by them, which I know is easy to say, but it's more around I wanted to do sales that month because I was like on this job every day. I'm like, why are these east-facing apartments still available? I'm like, you've got views that can't get built out. You get sunrise every morning. You look over like beautiful trees with stone in the corner, and then just went a little mission and just thought, who do I know that this could help? And yeah, but still crying the sales team didn't beat me at month.
Well, I'm very proud to have the apartment in there, and I think it's going to be awesome. What's building a development like Manchester Square like?
I think as far as the main differences between our other projects, it really emphasised how broken the industry is. Like, how do I even explain it? Just, it comes down to what I was saying earlier, is you pay all this money for these plans, and then you end up just 200 people on site, and then changing the plans to match what they say, like mutually, and you kind of have to fight your way through to have the professional, so to speak, agree with you. And it's one of those interesting industries where it's, when you think about it, who in the entire chain of that has any incentive for saving cost or time or value engineering, where usually it's the builder would never challenge the architect because why would he bother? The client doesn't have enough knowledge to sort of fight back against the architect. Architect won't challenge the consultants. Consultants and architect will take the path of least resistance with council if they want another report or peer review. And then you sort of go, well, who actually is vested in controlling costs, time, efficiencies? And it's not just about saving money. I actually had someone recently say it in a really good way is, I think we've built, I call it 2,000 houses now, it's slightly more than that. If we had 20% inefficiency, which is probably light, I think the industry is a lot more than that, 20% of 2,000 is 400. That means for the same money, we could have built 400 more houses and had approximately 800 to 1,000 more people in brand new homes if we got the inefficiency out of the system. And I think that's where your mindset needs to be, where it's not about saving money or picking fights for no reason. It's going, why did we have to do all that when we could have actually built another 400 houses for the same money?
And the other thing as well is that that efficiency gain isn't just profit for you, it's cost reductions for the customers. It's like everyone benefits.
Yeah, it's not even it's not about making more money on a job. Like, don't really have to make money on a job, but it's going, oh, I'd love to be able to pay this tradesperson more because they're really good, because I'm not paying this consultant to write about a lizard. And then also we can upgrade, I don't know, the fridge, or we can go integrate a fridge now, and then also we can drop the price $5,000 or $10,000.
Yeah.
And then it means we have a better product offering, so we can then sell more, which means we can do more.
Yeah.
And it's just, people don't like doing things that they don't have to do. Like, I mean, just a screw I took out, it was like 12,000 bolts. Like, this sounds bad, like it's in flow, but it's not. 12,000 bolts that hold it all together, just from they hadn't designed the cavity bed and fixings properly. So we actually just increased the spacings and use a bolt that was twice as strong, a third the price than what was actually specified by the engineer. And I was like, no one wants to have to drill into the tilt panel and install 12,000 bolts. Like, no one's going to... If he finished that job and you're like, oh, by the way, you didn't actually have to do that. Like...
Yeah.
No one thinks about... Imagine... Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good example of if I just made you do... Imagine if I made you walk to work every day via Rolliston.
Yeah.
You still got paid, but you got told you didn't actually have to do that.
You could have just walked straight here.
Yeah, and if you pay the wrong consultant, they'll explain why going via Rolliston is the most efficient way to get to work.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They would.
Yeah. So then maybe, and I mean, I had this conversation, I've had it on a number of podcasts, but maybe the lack of being educated is a benefit for the way you run things, because you have the consultants that are educated and they're taught why Rolliston is the right way, but by not being educated, you just look at it and you go, that's stupid, and you're able to view it with a different light.
I think it is a benefit, because I can see how if you've studied one aspect of construction your whole life, you're always going to be very deep-seated in what you've been taught, how that's been done, with not consideration to how that fits into the bigger picture, but not intentionally. So it's kind of, I always say, just know enough to be dangerous, but not in a rude way, just going, why is it being done like this? And then going to the other engineer and going, well, how does this impact your aspect? If we change any window sizes, would that then reduce the structural requirements? And it's just about knowing to ask the right questions, but you don't know how to ask the right questions until, I wouldn't say you've done it wrong before, but you've done it in a less efficient manner than what you should have.
Sure.
And that's why we try to standardise floor plans, because I say if you pull out like your iPhone or your Samsung, whatever you rock, looks the same as the one from 10 years ago. And that's because just they were iterating the same product over a long period of time, making it better and better, whereas housing is like, iPhone 1's this, iPhone 2 is foldable, iPhone 3 is a cube, and like you never get any efficiencies because you build a development or a house, learn all the little nuances and little lessons, however big or small, then you never ever build the house again.
Interesting to think about. And then...
and it's really hard to even build the same house twice.
Yeah.
Where you get what's called regional differences.
Yeah.
It's that doorstop's a long one, whereas normally we do it as an overhead doorstop. Like, it's actually really hard to build the same house twice. Which is dumb.
It's an... I
also,
hadn't
because
thought
in
about it.
different cities, a window might have to be a bigger size in Auckland than Christchurch. And I was like, imagine buying a brand new car, because we're here in Christchurch, going across the Waimak Bridge, then being told your wheels aren't compliant, and it gets impounded. Fix all that up, get to Kaikoura, now your windscreen's the wrong thickness. That is what the RMA and district plans are like.
Why is that?
Incremental creep, I think, where I don't think anyone intends it to be that way, but just you get all these regional councils, so you need to make a district plan off the RMA, and they all have different opinions, and just slowly you get slight nuances and changes. And yeah, they're called consultants because they need to consult, not agree.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we call agreeers. They're going to be consultants. If you think about what incentive do two consultants have to agree with each other? They don't get paid anymore, and then they want to be consultants.
Yeah.
I'm not actually negative, even if I come across like it, but it's a really interesting industry the more you go like deep into things like that and really think about it.
Yeah. And we've had a few conversations about this over a couple of wines, and I've because it's blown my mind, right? Because and I suppose this is maybe where like marketing has an edge in some regards. Is like it's not an edge actually because it comes with a whole other set of challenges. But we are virtually deregulated. Like there is no, because it's just like aside from the Advertising Standards Authority, but then even with that, we're pretty deregulated.
I did like your free sausage ad. That got me.
Yeah, but I can do whatever I want. There's no.
First of all, what qualification does a property developer need? There is no qualification for a property developer.
So then
there's no qualification for someone to tie all the professionals together and understand how it all flows. Bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I just hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
What do you think a market operates like then? Just to throw a real spanner in the works that removes all of the bureaucracy from the process.
The problem is there's always something that's going to take advantage of it. Like I know they're looking at deregulating, well not deregulating, but removing as many barriers for using different building products. And I don't necessarily agree with that. Not that I think the current system's completely right, but it is a large investment people are making when they buy a home, if not the largest. And there'll always be someone that makes the wrong judgment call, either intentionally or unintentionally, with, we use that cladding because it's here and there, and then it fails because New Zealand UV rays are different. So you need some regulation. Actually, no, I changed my mind. You don't need any regulation. Oh, you really caught me out there. What would the market look like? It would fix itself over time.
Yeah.
I think would be the main thing. There'd be a bit of chaos at the start, unintended consequences, but then normally capitalism always wins where if you've got the right brand, people will buy your product. If you've done well, people don't. If the market's less regulated, people know they need to be more careful with who they buy, what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Lawyers get more skilled up. There'll be industries come out about educating the homeowner and what to look for when they're buying a property. But yes, that's probably the answer actually. It would come right, but I think the short term.
Bit of pain.
I always think, not that I was alive then, I feel like the 80s would have been a bit like that, where it's like, don't quite know how to build this taller building, but we're just going to chuck a bit more steel and a bit more concrete in, because it should theoretically work. Then you look at like when the Kaikoura quake happened, the old BNZ building, no problem. New one had to be pulled down.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have to pay for all the bureaucracy and you put all that money into more steel, more concrete, more insulation, solar panels, common areas, landscaping, you get a better outcome, but you have to be that way inclined as a person to do that with those cost savings.
Yeah.
Not just then take advantage of it and build something that's going to be problematic.
And the hurt would just be the people that buy into the...
It'd be horrific,
Yeah. But then also, do we currently operate in an environment where that doesn't happen? The answer is no.
No.
People get taken advantage of all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you can keep adding regulations with the best intention, but it doesn't actually help.
Mm.
It's like as far as development contributions, so roughly those that don't know, it's just every time we add a house onto a parcel of land, you have to pay the council levy, and it varies a lot. Like, say it's 15,000, 20,000 in Christchurch. It's going up in Auckland to like 50 to 100 in some areas. Wellington's somewhere in the middle. And that's to essentially give council money to go, more people are living in this area. Here's the money, so long term you can make sure you can upgrade the infrastructure when that becomes at capacity. I was thinking that I was like, when you think about it, look at Wellington City, they would have raised tens of millions, if not more, over the years from development contributions to pay for new infrastructure. They haven't done it. The infrastructure's fucked. And their solution is to then charge the developers more to then probably do the same thing again, as opposed to going, you guys have completely broken your contract. This money was paid for this purpose. Imagine I sold you a house and I was like, yeah, real sorry, mate. I actually went and bought a car, but if you pay me double, I'll then give you your house.
Yeah. Or I said, hey, I want to give you this extra $10,000 for a stone bench top in my thing, and you said, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
I'm happy to give you that. and then you go, oh, actually, sorry, I don't have the stone bench top because I spent the money.
Yeah, but if you give me another 10,000, I'll get you a stone one, maybe.
Maybe, in theory.
And
but that's my best solution that I can offer.
Yeah, I always thought infrastructure. So when you think about tax, without going too deep, tax is like for countries' defence, healthcare, education, and infrastructure. That was the entire main founding purposes of tax. Where you work, give money to the government, they provide those basic fundamentals. It's like you drive past Christchurch Hospital, there's fucking scaffolding and white scrim at the entranceway. All the infrastructure outside of Christchurch is pretty bad in New Zealand. Obviously Christchurch, because of the earthquakes, we got a head start on fixing it. education system's not that bad. The Navy's got, 3 ships now? 4 maybe?
And it was
And it's
4.
like, why do we have to keep paying tax and all this stuff for all these think groups and new slides and this and that? And it's like, fix the hospital entrance. Get rid of that fucking white scrum and the scaffolding. Pay nurses more, pay police more. Like, do the actual important stuff and stop just talking about everything else.
And it doesn't actually, the system doesn't practically work. Like when my appendix ruptured, because this is not personal towards any of the people that work at the hospital, because I understand how difficult it is to meet delivery when you're
It's
under-resourced.
very politically correct here, James.
Yeah, but that, like, I sat in the waiting room for 7 hours with a ruptured appendix. I think they gave me codeine at one point in time, and that made me feel a little bit better. And then about 7 hours later, a stomach doctor came and saw me, and he was like, "Oh fuck, not using those."
Yeah.
And I was in an operation room in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just, like, I explained to them everything that happened, but there's at the same time, there's some guy sitting in there who doesn't really need to be there. They don't have the resource to manage everything. They're just, like, there's people waiting in the hallways and stuff. Like, there's,
I've got a huge respect for that healthcare system. I'm a squeamish person the best time, not into it, don't like hospitals, they call them sick factory. And it's like, to be a surgeon might be like 12 years of study. Like, and it's like, you need people coming through all the time to fill that. High pressure work job. And it's just, it's going to be unpopular. It's like, how cool would it be if it was like your Air Points card? Be like, the more tax you pay, you got your status card. So it's like, after hours, Mr. Wallace, you're a platinum member, come this way.
Yeah.
But I'm not into that. I'm not saying that's right. It'll be just cool, is what I'm saying.
I think probably the thing that
or private healthcare, which is...
Yeah, which we have, but we don't have in an emergency regard. Yes. And so that's what I really thought about afterwards. I was like, if I could have just paid some money to be seen, because I knew it wasn't good, because I don't go to hospitals of shits. Like, I avoid them at all costs. I will go, And so for me to be there, which I've been to hospital probably twice in my life, and one of them I broke 6 ribs, I had a ruptured spleen, a collapsed left lung, bike crash. It's a whole nother story. Head injury. It was terrible. And the second time was a ruptured appendix. So it's like, if I'm not at that level, I'm not there. I just want to be seen when I'm there.
It was interesting. I was in Singapore about 2 years ago for the Grand Prix, and one of the couples I was with, she got, I think it was a kidney infection. Called the front desk. Taxi came within like 5 minutes. Went to the hospital. Blood test plus results, plus maybe like an MRI or something like that. $200, sent back to the hotel. They called every 3 hours to check. And I kind of joked, I'm like, isn't it weird how you're nearly better off flying to Singapore if you get sick, because you might end up waiting in after hours for longer than that. So, question to you, James, how'd you fix it?
How did I? How
would you? Here you go, you're in charge.
Where I'm
Throwing you
on
the spot there.
No. It's a good question, because I've actually thought about it way more than I probably should have. And I read this capitalism book, and it explained essentially what you said with housing before, which was if you completely opened up the healthcare industry, it would eventually right itself. What I'm conscious of is the harm that would happen along the way.
In America's example.
Yeah. So there are people, there's too far and there's not far enough. And we sit in not far enough, and America sits in too far.
It's actually similar to what I was saying, It's like there always someone takes advantage of it.
Yeah. And then what does the sweet spot in the middle look like?
Fly to Singapore when you're safe.
Yeah. But you don't want people who are who do not have resources to not be able to be looked after. And I'm actually comfortable paying tax in the name of
what I mean,
that.
For healthcare.
For healthcare.
Like
for sure.
education.
Yeah. I just want the tax that I pay for the healthcare to work, because there's not 10 people in a room that are $1 million a year theorizing stuff, and I want the scrim off the thing in a bigger fucking waiting room. Yeah, and it's been there for like 3 years. It's like,
it annoys me so much.
And there's no parking, and they're under resourced. It's like, can you just use the... Anyway.
Like, if anyone wants to give a little page, I'll donate for the roof listening, just to put a new roof on that. I'll just about pay for it. It annoys me so much.
Yeah. But I don't know how you fix it. I don't think what we're doing currently is working, though. So you do probably something different to what is happening right now.
And I think that's completely similar to construction in the industry, where it swells up every year. And I do genuinely believe that construction is or will get to a bit of a breaking point in certain regions and cities, where you can't just in Auckland have DCs go up $50,000, $100,000, whilst house prices have gone down, whilst there's now 4 more forms to fill out with 4 different council sectors, and still make a margin.
Yeah.
So then what happens is people don't build houses, demand, supply, prices go up, but you get to a point where the home buyer goes, I can't afford it, or I don't want to pay this, so they'll leave that region. They might go to Hamilton, Tauranga, Christchurch, Wellington, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, it's real easy to fix. But it's like in Christchurch, the power connections here from Orion, they were always $600 a house. I think they've just gone up recently, which is the first 6 years, to $2,200 a house. But Orion's a profitable entity that's part owned by the council. Go to Auckland, it's could be $25,000 a house, and you spend money for a design, wait, 4 months for it, then you have to pay 40 grand for traffic management. And it's different cities, same sort of concept, monopolies, different fees. How is it so different?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So there are examples of cities and councils that function well, and I actually think Christchurch is, I wouldn't say not perfect as a council, but I do actually genuinely believe they're by far the best we've dealt with.
Right.
Where no way is perfect, but I think as far as after the earthquakes, we had to bring on supply of housing as a city, and we got that balance pretty right, and we haven't had too much stupid bureaucracy creep in since those rules were put in, and I hope it stays that way, because it's starting to get, we now need to look at tree canopy cover, or tree management plans are now different than what they used to be, and DCs are poised to go up, and it's more, you don't want to head in the direction of other cities, because that's Christchurch's advantage.
Yeah.
Great city. I always say, if you say, will Christchurch be better in 10 years than it is today? It's a clear yes.
Yeah.
If you say, will Wellington be better in 10 years than it is today? It's who knows? And if you go, is Auckland? Probably, but there's congestion issues and affordability issues. So we have that advantage in Christchurch. We've seen with the University of Canterbury having essentially no room left, and Wellington University having spare rooms, offering Prezi cards if you refer a friend to stay in the halls.
Yeah.
So we need to keep that competitive advantage, because more people that live here, more rates, more tax generated, and Christchurch needs 1 million people, and it doesn't want to be a donut city where at 5 o'clock everyone leaves the middle.
Yeah.
Because we can be a really cool city, and we are, and we need 1 million people, and it'd be silly to do something stupid with bureaucracy that doesn't focus on the long-term benefit of what essentially we've got now.
Yeah, sure. Would you say that that's probably the biggest thing about property development that no one's focused on?
As far as the
challenges of being a developer? Because I feel like it's painted out as this super easy, just be rich
I'm just
job.
not good at anything else, because you just have to love to hate it, because every year it gets, I wouldn't say harder, but there's another form to fill out, another thing. At Manchester Square, we had to get a cultural report done if we had to de-water, about the cultural effect of the water going into the same stormwater network that the house next door discharges to off the roof. And then you have to pay people to put dirt in jars to go test the dirt, to then take that dirt to either one big pile of dirt in one quarry, or another pile of dirt in another quarry for 4 times the price. And that's the tip of the iceberg, absolute tip of the iceberg. It's interesting of an industry, and I can see that's why there's so little when you think about infill development around the CBD.
Yeah.
Because it's the only industry I know where you can pay a professional in their job. One might do it perfectly, another one might cost you another $1 million from their methodology.
Yeah.
Literally.
Do you think, this is just, once again, and this has always happened with these episodes, do you think you and Matt made it look way easier than it actually is?
Wouldn't help with how much posting doing fun shit, but that's true. I suppose you just have to actually, it's real easy to say, but you have to actually like what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like anything. If you didn't like marketing, you'd be like, why am I bothering with this?
Yeah.
You then don't pay much attention. You then miss some change that gives you the competitive advantage, or you just don't look after your customers well enough. I think a lot of people think development's this sort of side project of, I've got some money, I want to do a block of units. And it's, people probably just don't take the industry as seriously as they probably should.
Yeah.
Because they think, and it should actually act this way, you should actually be able to just pay an architect, pay a quantity surveyor, pay an engineer, pay council, pay a builder, done, dusted, should be a bit of profit in it.
Yeah.
but it's not like that. I think it used to be years and years ago, but it's definitely not that way now.
Yeah.
Whereas we see, it's like it's topical to be a developer, and then it's now not. Kind of like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm thinking I should buy Bitcoin, you should definitely sell yours if you've got any. I've literally told myself, if I think I should, just don't. Like, my curve's like complete opposite to the price point. If I could short it, that would be how I should probably make money. I think development's similar, where it's like, property's going hot, I'll build some flats. And I've seen that a lot in Auckland, where you get emails of, do you want to buy the site, it's got consent. And it's the same thing. It's actually quite sad. It's like, I've spent $300,000 with an architect and engineers and council for these plans. And you look at it and you're like, not that buildable, not going to have margin in it, high risk profile, flat roof, internal gutters. And you're kind of feel bad for that person where, even though, like, they can't be expected to know how to do it, because there's no qualification to be a developer. Mm-hmm. So you go, well, let's go to these professionals. But then it comes back, like I said, no one ties it all together, which some would argue is the developer's job, but also is it an unqualified person is for some reason going to be the one responsible for managing all these highly paid professionals?
Yeah, that you
with
would
all
assume
code of ethics, with all the stuff.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be that many industries where the person that's meant to be in charge of organising it all is the unqualified one.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a really good point. It probably ties more over to marketing than I think. And a lot of businesses like this operate similarly anyway, but it's similar in the sense that, like, if you own the agency, you put the pieces together. But all of my staff have master's degrees and did tertiary study, and I didn't even finish high school. I'm just the piece put together.
Yeah. You've got to know enough to be dangerous.
But I'm also obsessed with marketing, which is why it makes it easier.
And self-development.
Whereas, interesting.
When I did my degree, I had a project management paper, and I did it on building a house for a client and how I'd manage the schedule and changes. I failed it.
Yeah.
So one of the only papers I failed. That and programming, because programming's hard.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, but I completely forgot about it. But it's good, though. It is a really good industry because, not in a dodgy way, it is unregulated. I went to see my insurance broker the other day. Their fridge in their office has to be locked. And then at 4 p.m. on a Friday, someone unlocks the fridge. And it's like all the triple CFA stuff, mortgage brokers, lawyers, accountants. Whereas like marketing and development, there's not really like a body that covers, especially, I've got to deal with council and
I don't have council.
Everything else. Marketers have like full free reign.
Yeah. Especially digitally. Digitally then operates in like another tier of free reign. Like with your radio and stuff, you have more advertising standards authority presence. But digitally, technically, you can run ads in New Zealand from anywhere in the world. And then how does the advertising standards authority then impact?
That's what I thought. Imagine having like a call bot AI.
Yeah.
That does all your calls for you. Who are they going to sue? That person rings up and does something dumb. No one. A fake person.
The AI bot.
Yeah.
Surely it would then fall back on the person who set the bot up.
How do they know who it is?
I don't know.
Interesting though, right? What if you have AI make all your ads, pump it all out, and it's not digital simple, it's digital simple too limited.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's not even that, just a nothing. Just a Facebook account called John Smith.
Because you actually don't need one.
And it just pumps all the content out.
Yeah.
And then advertising standards write to that person, like, hey, why'd you do this?
This is where it becomes interesting because me and you both really like AI and we've been doing a lot of stuff together or we've been communicating about it.
Stuff
lately.
Yeah.
And so this changes everything because there's now no longer especially once AI becomes intelligent enough to start training itself.
No, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is terrifying. Larry, by 2026, there'll be nothing more for it to learn. They just know everything. Then it's like, does that just give a full reset? We know it doesn't produce a product when it can do everything. And then there's sort of this window where it's really useful, but terrifying. I tried it yesterday, put a set of plans in, and I tried this a few months ago. Do a quantity survey and take off. These plans are scaled 1 to 50, or the floor coverings, number of tiles I needed, 0.6 by 0.6, blah, blah. Push enter, it's boom, perfect. Then I used another thing, make this into a website for me, so I can then share this with my trades and they can easily click through. Within 15 minutes, I have a website where I can click different pages. It's like, if you're curious, you're like, am I really safe? Or what do I need to do to be safe. And I think it's where a lot of people go, I'm not going to embrace AI because I feel threatened by it. Whereas it should be, I need to embrace AI because if it's going to get that effective, and instead of being 10 QSs in this company, there's one, I need to be that one person that knows how to run it all to create the output of 10 people so I can get paid well, know how to do it. So you just have to embrace it.
Yeah.
I'm slightly terrified by it too. It's gotten so good and
so fast, eh? It's like monthly. You just check back in. You're like, oh my god.
Well, I did the other day. I think I've told you about it. Where I asked it, what do you know about me that I might not know about myself based on prior interactions? Then I said, be a savage and roast me. And the summary was like, you're a cheeseburger eating, Gucci wearing perfectionist who would rather miss a meal than let it detail on a plan and go astray. And I'm like, I feel quite upset now. So I was like, right, five nice things about me.
Make me feel better.
Yeah, it's like cheeseburger eating Gucci. I was like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But I was like, and it's like, imagine when it just has everyone's input. And it's like, how will law work?
Yeah. So here's a thought that I had this morning. This is hot off the press. I was actually listening back to my episode that I did with Andrew, and he mentioned a conversation that he had with Marcus Sheridan, who's the author of They Ask You Answer. And Marcus described AI as being fire or the wheel. Like it's that equivalent impact on human society.
100%.
Here's the thing that I think is really interesting about that is when we invented the wheel, everyone who carried things didn't become useless, right? So just because you can wheel things around now and you used to carry them around, that doesn't mean all the people that carried things just had no place in society afterwards. And so I think if you view it that way, it changes your thoughts. It's like you just now need to be the best at wheeling things rather than the best at carrying things.
I actually thought it's because history always repeats itself in some way, shape or form. We need to accept there's a whole lot of industries that are going to completely vanish and be completely redundant, and those industries will have to retrain in something that is more useful to society than what they were doing because of AI advancement, etc. And at the moment, we're kind of keeping jobs sort of bulging, this sort of mid-tier things in society, where it is going to get to a breaking point where the productivity of GDP is just going to, those industries are gone. It's like the guy put the horseshoes on, then the cars came around.
Yeah.
Sure, there was room for some of them, but a lot of them had to go retrain.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what other industries there are back in time, probably a lot, but...
Like, who are the people that made swords?
Well, yeah, anything,
Smith
like
sword.
all that sort of stuff, like blacksmith and all of that. Society's like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore, I have to do something else.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's kind of like, well, AI's just going to be here.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to get an urban design report on this project in Christchurch Central City, reference every urban design report in New Zealand and the entire planet, and best case, reference case law, summarise it, make me a PowerPoint for it, make me a website showing it, give me renders, give me a video, push a button, a minute later you've got it. No one can compete with that.
Yeah.
So there won't be some industries where it's just, there's not even someone needing to coordinate it because it'll just be built into, say, your architecture software, push a button, boom.
Yeah.
Or councils go, we actually can't really make people do these now because it's all subjective and made up. So, like law. Get every single case law on the planet and Western society and analyse these two sides of the story, balance it, pros and cons, percentage chance, winning, losing, what's the adequate sentence. How can a lawyer beat that?
Yeah. I'm using it for a legal thing at the moment.
Oh, mate,
I can't talk too much about it, but I'll, it's really, like, what has really changed my thoughts around AI has been, like, I'm creating a brand strategy for this company that's approached us at the moment. And I was really stuck with, like, names and things like that. I had one piece of it that I thought was really good. And that's where everyone said that AI would be useless, was, like, creativity. So I just wrote down everything I had in my head into a prompt. I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. These are the brands that I like.
Do you speak to it or do you type?
I type, but I like typing. I find that it helps me, like, structure my thoughts out. But I'll try speaking. It's interesting. And because we have DS GPT or something, like we have our own internal chat GPT thing that's learning based off the way we do things. And
hope that doesn't scan your browser history.
Yeah. And
threw you up there.
Yeah, it solved my problem. Like, it came up with the name and I was like, that's not exactly what I'm going to use, but I made a slight tweak to it and I was like, that's really good. And then I was like, oh God. And like it named this product line for me and it used my name in that and it did that intelligently. And I was like, that just saved me 10 hours of concentrated
You'd
thought.
love talking to it then.
Yeah, right.
Because you can have it talk back to you, but it's a bit slow and laggy. But apparently it helps it learn because, like, I sort of swear at mine. It's like, do this, blah, blah, blah. You're like, shit, what's that brain called? Oh, actually this.
Yeah.
But it somehow does just cut all that out. And then it seems better at writing it in your style because how you type is normally different to how you speak.
Yeah.
And it's so much quicker. That's
Yeah.
something I learned. Just the ability just to, like, ramble off.
Yeah,
what I'll do
right.
tomorrow. And it sort of annoys me, like, you drive in your car, you push the Google Maps button, so you go to Smith Street. It's like going to Scott Street. I'm like, fuck, no.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is this not pushed through to other areas of things where it's obvious? And that's what I was saying to Matthew the other day. So we need to look at what software we're using in the company, whether that be accounting software, project management. I was like, if that software doesn't have any mention of AI anywhere, or even like a chatbot, you're probably back into losing software.
Yeah.
But then also the other side of it's moving so fast, you forget what you even bloody signed up to.
Yeah, we were talking about the subscription costs that we've got at the
what can
moment for
change,
things we
yeah.
don't even
So
understand. They've all got real funny names too that just don't
you
allude to
forget.
what they do at all.
Yeah, and you're like, what the hell is this? And you try to go through your history and
Yeah.
and it's scary. You give access to all your files, and I've just accepted.
It's just how the world's going to
Well,
work.
it's why they got rid of removable batteries on phones. They can listen to you. They can see all your stuff if they want to. It's like Edward Snowden, what's that WikiLeaks, where he's just like, they know everything, and everyone watches porn.
Yeah.
That's the summary.
Yeah. I actually had this conversation with someone the other day where they're like, I feel like it's an invasion of privacy. And I was like, the thing you've got to understand is like, you don't matter in this. Like, they're not trying to find you. They don't care what you're into and what you search on your phone until they do. But provided you're not like a terrorist or something, all you're going to see is some ads that suit your interests a little bit better. It's not that, it's just, I think, accepting it. It just is what it is.
But I'm not going to go too out of a rabbit hole in your podcast, but imagine if you have everyone being listened to and then you use a language model that now knows everything and say, how would I slowly manipulate people to have this demographic of person lead the country, and then I want to have these changes happen throughout it, slowly implement this as a plan. So it's like when you get that much data, that's why I said it might just go full reset.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit more complicated.
Because I imagine it's like everyone's so used to AI and helping you, and they like delete it. I think it's been down a while, been down here and there, and I'm like, man, I actually use this way more than I thought.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and it happens fast. It's not even being used probably a tenth of its potential
or it becomes
here, but it's
user
still
pays.
daily.
Instead of $20 a month, whatever it is, it might be 20 grand a month.
Yeah.
And then it just prices people out like that.
Yeah.
So we're really interested to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, really interesting.
Yeah.
But definitely, people out there, type that prompt into ChatGPT if you use it. If you're like, feel deep.
I'm going to do that straight after this. Yeah.
I would just like, be savage and roast the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So last time I said like roast me, it was like way too nice. I was like, be as savage as you can. I'll show it to you after this. Fucking find it.
Hey, a little bit more on the business stuff. So, what does a typical day in your life actually look like at the moment?
Pretty much go to the office or the side office, and then go home.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably a large percentage of your total day as well.
Yeah. Well, this morning I was at work at like, I don't know what it was, like 4 a.m. or something. And, but yeah, just I love what I do, but it's not a glorious job, so to speak.
Yeah.
Hence why you have to like doing it. But it's like anything. You have to go, what is going to catch me out on this job, or whatever it may be, and you have to focus on that every single day.
Yeah.
You're not going, man, that's going really good over there. As you know, as a business owner, your job is to focus on what's not going right or what could go wrong, not what's going great.
Yeah.
Whilst also managing that something going great, if not looked after, will then start going wrong.
Yeah. And how do you figure that out? Like what needs your attention the most? You have so many things going on.
I suppose that was like, I don't really write down my goals anymore. But I think it was like September, October. So I'm like, what do I want to achieve by Christmas? And I was like, not have any fuck ups on Manchester Square, sell 10 houses myself, buy land for 50 homes. And I was like, if I do nothing else but those three things, it's actually when I could not check one email outside like paying the bills. So pay the bills aside. If I just do those three things and nothing else till Christmas, it would be a win. And I think I've sold 7 houses now. Haven't cocked anything up in Manchester Square, touch wood. And got Bath Street, which is 57 houses. So it's like, as long as you're balancing that macro and micro tasks, so that's why I was like, it's getting really busy, going to Christmas, here are the things I want to achieve. And then it's like, okay, well, I can't cock up Manchester Squizzer. What's happening next? What's the program? What are the plans like here? I need to sell houses. Okay, who can I call? And just balancing that. It's like, if it's like, do I need new clients? Do I need to grow clients? Do I need to decrease overhead or grow the business? And it's trying to remember what those actual key things are. Because sort of say, unless we're selling a house, delivering a house, or building one, or buying land, like the rest is all shit.
It's just fluff.
It's just fluff. It's just, there's no point in meeting all these suppliers around our homes under construction. So it's,
And that's probably been the realization that I've made over this year is like, trim the fluff. It's been like, and you put a baby in the mix, you have less fluff room. And so then you just start aggressively cutting it out. And you're just like, someone will be like, do you want to come do this? And I'm just like, no.
Yeah. You got to get to the point where they don't even invite you.
I'm like...
No, it does get a bit like that. And it's like, a lot of people will be like, well, not say you're antisocial, but they don't see you and whatnot. Or like sometimes I'd be like texting a contractor, I'll like call him and just start talking. He'd be like, hi Blair, how's your day going? I'm like, sorry, it's just, you kind of forget sometimes, not how to be polite, but you just get in that zone of it's like, I prefer texts than calls. I prefer calls and emails. Because it's like, emails are a pain. Most of them are shut. It's like, pick up the phone and it'll be sort of done dusted as opposed to like 10 emails back and forth and just crap. So it's more, I think, like you said, get rid of the fluff. Helps everyone enjoy their day more. And pick up the phone. Like, I get like I wouldn't say no calls each day, but way less than you'd think. Well,
I was thinking about that as well the other day. It's like, I only really get called by people that are like my buddies. Like people that I have a personal relationship with will ring me every now and again and just be like, hey, what do you reckon of this? Like, they're usually clients. But they'll be like, I got this idea, or what do you think of this? And I'm like, yeah, man, I like that, or no, I don't like that. But outside of that, like, I wouldn't really get calls from people. People request I call them a bit. And I'm like, you can just ring. Like, my number is everywhere. You can just call me and just be like, hey, 100%. Can I chat to you about this? I'm never not expecting a phone call,
But like also, it's like, that's what's, when you realise that, like, I think I get called, but it's always people I know or saved on my phone. Had a really cool person reach out to me. Just call me. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. Do site photography. Here's some photos of Manchester Square that I took from my drone. I'm happy to come do a day for free on site because I want to do your work. So can't really say no to that, right? Comes in, does a day, awesome photos. Then calls me like a couple of days later. I've got something to drop off to you. You got a badass awesome drone photo, put it in a frame. And now we're paying him once a month to come to site. And he's like, I just thought it'd be easy just to like go to the top and just ring you direct to try your work versus trying to get someone that's building one house or and has a budget for one set of site photography. And like no one does that. So it's like the feedback is you just literally go, who's the top person I can call, the biggest company to go direct for my service? Honestly, I reckon it works so well.
And you would do the same thing in reverse when it's come to like building these contract relationships you've got and things like that. It would just be find the best company no matter how busy they are, call them, ask them to come work for you, or other way around.
Organic. It was just like it just slowly grows and matures. It's kind of like, you can't just create that team. And it's balanced. I've always tried to use small to medium sized companies. Not that there's anything wrong with bigger companies, but it's like knowing who are the people on site. They're likely to have sort of the same staff for a longer period of time. And it's just, you just, when I was probably doing, you just go online, just call the main owner, hey, like, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, can you help?
I prefer that. So you mentioned just before that you want to sell 3 more houses by Christmas. Who are the people that you're thinking you're going to sell these houses to? And if one of them's a listener, why should they buy a house off you?
If I believe we've got a product that's right for you, you could ask me any question about that house, a material on it, why I think it's right for you, and I'll have a genuine answer. And if we don't have the correct product for you, I'll tell you. So it's more, if you think we might do, you may as well reach out because I'll tell you if we don't. And if you've got any questions as to why I think we've got the right one, I think you could literally be like, why do you have that toilet seat? Why do you have that toilet? Why do you have that sink? How do you do your fridge that way? Like, I've literally tried to go through that level of detail where I always say it's like if you get a Great Wall, a Hilux, Volkswagen, MROC, line them all up for a distance, have a brochure on each, sure, 3 white utes, they all look the same on a floor plan. But if you drove each one for a week, materially different. And I think housing is similar, where it's always been treated a bit like a commodity. Like, oh, this one sold for that price, it's 2 bed, 1 bath, so that one's worth the same. But when you like live in them each for a week, I think it'd be very similar to that car example, where it's just, we've offset our bathroom doors 100 millimetres so the door opens fully and the towel rail sits behind the door. Because we probably did a development years and years ago where the door wouldn't open fully because the door wasn't offset. And it's like tiny things like that you can't pinpoint and you don't really notice until you actually live in them.
Yeah.
So the summary is we build really good houses. I really care about how we build our houses. And you can test me on any question, and I reckon I'll have a valid, genuine answer. And if we're not right, I'd probably tell you. But also, it's the market needs to be better, and we do that by educating the customers. So I've got no problem sharing all that with people. So even if they go around and buy from someone else, or they come back to us, hopefully, at least they've had the knowledge put into them, hopefully from our conversation, that they then ask the right questions to the competition to then hopefully lift the industry as a whole.
Yeah, sure. And that very much reflects my experience going through the processes. I'd always wanted to do something, and then the way that it was presented was just, I think you should consider this because I think it suits where you're at right now. And I was just like, Airbnb, apartment that's hard to replace, cool project that I want to be involved in. I was just like, yeah, it does. Like that was like I was.
Yeah, and I was like, if it's not for you, that's fine. I was just, because because I'm not really, I'm into sales obviously, but it's not my key focus. So it's like, you start to narrow down. It's like anything in life, you go, I'm not really into that, but I want to sort that out. It's like, you take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
I don't just start calling off the white pages like,
I
can help that person. Oh yeah, I can help that. And it kind of becomes a bi-natural product. And what amazed me so much is how it then randomly started having more and more people talking about sales. Like, I'm not saying like law of attraction, all that sort of shit, but literally like, I negotiate a new price with the supplier. I said I'd buy them dinner if we get that rate. GM flew down from Auckland. We go out for dinner, sold them a house. The next day it's like, walk out the side office, trades there, look at it. Oh, how much do these cost? Oh, I'm looking at buying one. It was bizarre. Yeah. Like, honestly, it was the bizarrest thing.
I don't know how that shit all works, but I know it works.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Because after that month, haven't really had that anymore.
Yeah, but when you focus on
so
something,
weird.
Me and my sales manager had this. We were like, we want 20 new clients. We're like, that's our thing, and we've got 5 weeks to do it or something like that. And we didn't really have any. I mean, we're really good at selling shit, and we have great lead generation systems and all that sort of stuff. But then all of a sudden, it was like someone rang me that I spoke to a year ago, and they're like, "Hey, I'm ready to go on this. Are you still able to offer that?" And I'm like, where did you come from?
Yeah,
where
the weirdest things, right?
Yeah.
Like, the weirdest thing. I had another supplier come in, and I thought they were coming to talk about their product offering that they do for us.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm here to talk about investment property. It's like, just did not expect that. Like,
It's happened once in my career.
We were going to talk about, I didn't say tiles, for example, no, just tiles. And no, I'm here to talk about buying a house off you. It's like, that never happened before ever.
Yeah.
But just somehow in that same month it all happened. But I always say the key thing is just be sold on what you're selling, care about your customer. It's literally all you have to do. Or even if you don't know the answer to something, or you're not confident, the customer could feel that you care about them genuinely.
Yeah.
And that you do deep down believe in the product you're selling, even if you might have knowledge gaps. So say a new salesperson in the industry, that's honestly the key to sales. That's it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Like,
and I also have a lot of sales reps across like door-to-door sales and things like that. But the number one thing...
Very hard to like figure out your customer, you knock on that door.
Well, what's fun about it is it taught me that like when you knock on someone's door, you just go, "Hey, I'm here from Nova Energy. Do you want to spend less on your power bill?" And if they're like, "No," I'd just be like, "Have a great night," and I just walk off. And they're like, "Oh, no, how much less?" And that barely happens, but sometimes it happens. But generally, you just get through all the people that don't want to talk. They're like, "I've had a shit day, mate. I can't be fucked." Cool. See you later. Like I'm not going to try over
exactly.
And maybe you throw like a little, would spend less on your power bill make you feel any better? They're like, no. You're like, sweet, that's all good. But what I've learned through selling Digital Simple, which I do very differently, is I treat it like problem solution, and then I will look after you. Like that's the message. Is it's like, hey, if I'm involved in the sales process, I'm going to do the right thing.
Just call me if there's a problem.
Yeah. I believe in our product. I believe it's the right fit for you. I will do everything I can to ensure that we deliver on what we say we're going to deliver. You've identified this problem. We will solve it for you as best as we can. if you'd like to work with us, I'd love to work with you too. Like, that's the process. It's not objection handling. And then if they're like, mate, it's a little tight on this thing, I'm like, well, why don't we just strip this out? Like, we'll just work on something.
And with different salespeople, like, sometimes you need to be that some salespeople are great at the whole objection handling, looping, and you actually sell to people that wouldn't buy otherwise, and it has benefited them from buying a product. But as far as just the way I do it, it's just, if you don't buy one, that's fine, but you really should for these reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm a pretty lazy salesperson.
Yeah.
I was a typical bad salesperson the other month. Like, don't log my calls in Zen, just don't put my notes in. And I was like,
It's also not really your job because you're not employed as a salesperson.
I was crying, being number one.
Yeah. And I think like, just to close the loop on that conversation, one thing I learned about the objection handling thing, which I can do, I have the repetitions and the skills to do it, is that in Power we used to have clawbacks. So if someone signed up for the power company and then Genesis won them back over or whatever it was, I would not get paid. And so like I set the record for most sales in a week for Nova Energy, and I did all these things. But on those weeks, I might have signed up 40 people or something. Yeah. I'd get like 18 clawbacks. And it was because I was so good at impulsing people and objection handling and doing things like that.
They don't have the trust
they weren't actually committed. So they're like, oh, I'm not really, like, I honestly, and I used to do some, because I just didn't really care. I used to do some funny stuff. So they'd be like, look, we're actually more expensive than the power company you're currently with. But like, if you sign up with me today, I get to smash the gong when I go back to the office. Do it for me. And they'd be like, okay, that bounces. You know, like that gets clawed back. Because then Genesis called them up and go, we'll give you a $200 credit to stay. And why'd you even switch in the first place? Because I'm like, or like, you
should have signed up on 36-month terms, throw in a free fridge.
Yeah. Done. But even then, you still have the cool down period. It's just like, so what I learned was I was like, I'm actually better off just selling to the people we provide a stupid amount of value to, really solidly explaining to them how much value we provide, saying to them, Genesis is going to call you. They're going to offer you a $100 credit. When they offer you the $100 credit, you need to consider the fact that we're $50 cheaper a month, and that $100 credit isn't enough.
I'll take the credit, thanks.
Yeah, and also just saying, like, if they'll drop their rates to below ours, I would suggest you go with them. Like, being really transparent and clear. But at the end of the day, this is the same thing, and I don't want you to overpay for it. And that changed sales completely. And so then you just carry that with you into,
But also, like, if you did Power, you're like, Blair, I'll look after you. Like, I've never really, like, checked my power bill. It's like someone rang me from a KiwiSaver fund said, I'll look after you. I'm like, sweet, just send me, like, the easiest way possible to change.
Yeah, as long as they feel like, hey, obviously, sort of heading towards the end of this episode, I have got one question for you, which is our closing question for all of our guests. If you were to go back, so we go all the way back to 18-year-old Blair, working at Macca's, studying, things like that, and you were to do one thing differently throughout your journey so far, what would it be?
Instead of doing temporary fencing, I would have done road cones. And then I might not even be a developer if I got in there.
That's the fastest, most direct answer. I've had people pause for 30 seconds.
I've thought about it a lot. I've thought the amount of fucking fencing feet I had to carry around, northwest winds, we had PTSD, smashing a whole trailer of fences falling over. Like, if I just bought road cones, cheaper, stacked on a trailer, you get a 6-week payback period on an insured asset where you get paid to draw where the cones go, get paid to put the cone down, get paid to check the cone every day, get paid if the cone is stolen, and get paid a rental period. Whereas fence panels are shit by comparison. So that is the parting statement.
Hey, if someone wants to, is it right that the Williams Corporation podcast is coming back?
Yeah, I'll bought some podcast gear. It's coming, and
nice.
Yeah, they'll be do some more episodes. We sort of go through stages of huge gaps and then large frequency of doing episodes. So
great. I'm looking forward to being able to tune in. And if someone wants to chat to you about buying a house, best way, just contact you through social media, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Easy.
Yeah, any social media platform. Probably like I don't really go on LinkedIn much. Actually, I am recently. A few scraps there. Just text me. Numbers on my website. Love to hear from you, or Instagram. But I don't know what my handle is. I think it's Beach Apps.
Beach Apps, yeah. It is Beach Apps. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Hey, I know your time's really valuable. Thank you so much for coming in and sitting down. Right? It's done exactly what I thought it would be, which has just been good general chatter rather than an interview. Yeah. But I think there's a bit of value in people across some of the things you said. So I really appreciate it. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening. Make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify. We've got lots more guest episodes coming up, lots of other cool things happening. And you can check us out on socials as well. And also stay tuned for the Williams Corporation podcast.
And if you've made it this far, I'll buy you a beer at Church Bar while I try to sell you a house.
There you go. One text message and you get a free beer. That sounds exceptional. Thank you very much, Blair.
You've done a good job. You listen to this whole thing of us ranting about stuff, so I appreciate it. I want to catch up with people that resonated with what we said, so let us know.
Awesome. Hey, thanks again for listening, guys. I will catch you on the next one.